Captain America is one of Marvel's best loved characters, but the story of how Steve Rogers became Captain America actually has some opinions, in my opinion, of the parable of the sower. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. Remember in the first week of this series when we spoke about the hero's journey and Joseph Campbell's kind of wheel of the hero's journey, and how he spoke about how often the hero comes from a kind of insignificant background or a weak background. And this story of Captain America kind of follows that same pattern.
The parable of the sower follows a farmer scattering seed. In Matthew chapter 13 verse 19, Jesus explains that the seed is the message of the kingdom. Each place that the seed falls represents how people respond to the message of the kingdom.
After telling this parable, Jesus goes on to say quite a confusing statement. He talks about how people will be ever hearing and seeing, but never understanding and perceiving in case they would turn and be healed. And it's a bit like, well, Jesus, surely that's what you were coming to do, to cause people to turn and be healed. Well, it might seem on the surface a bit like Jesus contradicting himself or he's being really, really harsh. But I think that going back to Captain America's story at this point can give us an insight into what Jesus might have meant by saying that statement.
Steve Rogers was chosen to receive the serum that would make him Captain America because Dr. Erskine knew that he'd receive the power in the right way. His character meant that he'd be able to handle the fact that he'd become much stronger and that he would use his strength for others and not for himself.
Let's remember that when Jesus was telling the parable of the sower, he was talking about how he knew ahead of time that some people were going to reject and not respond well to his message. So one of the things that Jesus was doing when he was talking to his disciples was saying that some people are going to be hearing and seeing everything that's going on, but they're still not going to believe. That's why the parable of the sower and the statement that Jesus said after that was said in this context of how people hear and understand Jesus and who he was. Now, of course, the analogy that we're drawing from Captain America is only an analogy and it only goes so far. The beauty of, like Captain America was chosen because of his great compassion and actually his weakness, sometimes we as Christians say that we recognize our need for God, and so that's why we try and cling to him in our relationship with him by spending time in his word, by spending time in prayer, by going to church every Sunday and immersing ourselves in the Christian community that can help and support us on our journey of faith. But the analogy only goes so far because the amazing thing is that when we take the serum of the kingdom, if we want to compare what Captain America took to the message of the kingdom, actually anyone, no matter what your past is, at the point of that relationship with Jesus, a new life is born inside of us. So whoever we are, when we come into the kingdom of God, we are actually made new. And this is obviously a fundamental message to what Christianity is about. But the reason that we're using this kind of Captain America story as an analogy for the parable today is not to say that it's about who you are before you receive Jesus that matters, but that it's the purpose of what Jesus said about the parable in the first place, that it's our response to Jesus and what he is saying to us that is important. And that's the thing that Captain America, the doctor that gave Captain America this serum knew, that he would respond in the right way to this injection of power in his life. So our lesson for today is that we as followers of Jesus want to respond rightly to the gospel of the kingdom, to be that good soil that when that seed falls onto the soil of our lives, we respond in the right way.
But you didn't answer my question. Do you want to kill Nazis?
Is this a test?
Yes.
I don't want to kill anyone. I don't like bullies. I don't care where they're from.
Well, there are already so many big men fighting this war. Maybe what we need now is a little guy.